Let me ask you, what's up with the Bitcoin craze? Now, again, I personally, I know it's not a craze in my mind. I'm going to ask you because I don't think it is. I got offered Bitcoin when it was $600. No, I'm sorry, $50. And I said, well, why would I want a bunch of shit I can't spend? This dude, a bunch of tech nerds trading freaking a Bitcoin. I thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
Then at $600, somebody gave me 100 of them because they owed me $60,000. And I'm like, sure, I'll take Bitcoin. Then someone gave me 20 of them.
20 whole Bitcoins.
Yeah, a whole coin.
Yeah, each one's $50,000 now.
Now, but then it was $600. The guy was walking out of this studio. We filmed Poker VT here, and I had the Poker VT table. It was a full-on poker table with cameras and all that.
Yeah.
And the guy says, "What do you want for that?" I said, "I don't know. You know, it was technically in my way. I was just going to get rid of it." And he said, "Hey, I'll give you 3 Bitcoin." I said, "All right." And he gave me 3 Bitcoin. And they were in town visiting. "You got any extra cash on you?" I said, "Do you need cash?" He said, "Yeah." Now, these guys they had just had a bunch of Bitcoin. By the way, the one dude that opened his Bitcoin wallet had $16 million in Bitcoin in that wallet, and they were $600 then. And he had 16 million of them. So he transferred me the 60 Bitcoin, then 3 Bitcoin for the table at my house. He needed 2,000. He wanted cash. I said, "Sure, I can give you some cash." He said, "I'll give you, I think, 4 Bitcoin for $2,000, which is $2,400. And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be $1,000 soon. It's going to be $1,000 soon. So I said, sure, okay. So I gave him $2,000. Everyone said I was getting scammed. This was at 600, and then it went to 1,000. Then it went to 5,000. Then it went to like 8,000. And I'm thinking, dude, I got to get rid of this shit. You know, so I'm thinking about selling it. Fortunately, I didn't sell it all, but I did sell a bunch. My dumbass. What's up with Bitcoin?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I agree, and you're not alone. I think, especially in my industry, financial services, no one buys into that stuff, right? They're extremely skeptical. No one wants to do that, and it's counter
before you mean?
Before.
Yeah, because banks are doing it now, aren't they?
Yeah, well, now. Yeah, once it's, you heard BlackRock, the biggest asset manager in the world, about 2 weeks ago, finally got on board. Bank of New York Mellon, oldest bank in the U.S., got on board about 2-3 months ago.
Elon bought $1 million.
Elon bought $1 billion, so they're always late to the game. But I think at the end of the day, let's talk about Bitcoin. I was actually just on a call with a few other people with former head chair Ben Bernanke talking about Bitcoin also, so I can give you some perspective from that. The challenge is fiat currencies, right? Around the world, all central banks are essentially printing currency after currency after currency, and after we got off the gold standard, it was basically just a big Ponzi scheme to continue to print money. And I think most people have gotten away with that for quite a while. I'll tell you something, though. A lot of people talk crap about the millennial generation. Some of these guys that are actually mining the Bitcoin, they don't believe in fiat currencies. And I've had same stories, people that have come into my office, "Hey, I've got 12 million to invest. How did you get that?" "I put 10 grand into Bitcoin way back then," right? And so it's worked out. People are starting to call bluff of fiat currencies. And you've seen that happen not only in Bitcoin. If you look at the fine art market, it's starting to take off. So anything that is a tangible asset that has limited quantity, same thing with fine wine right now, those assets are skyrocketing. So Bitcoin, it's collecting it, but this is really a global phenomenon away from fiat currencies. Now, Bitcoin, I do think, could potentially become the new gold because it is a lot easier to transact. It's never going to be a replacement for the dollar, though.
Why?
It's not going to be a replacement for the dollar. I mean, I don't want to say never, but the volatility of it is just way too much. As I was just we were getting off the plane with somebody, probably a rapper, it seems like an artist. He was getting off and someone had just transferred him 30 grand for an appearance that he did. He's like, "Oh shit." And he looks at it, next thing he's on the phone, he's like, "Dude, it's like 18 grand now." You can't, what happens if your bank account with your dollars that you need to spend for reserves were fluctuating 10, 20, 30% a day? It's just way, way too volatile. But Bitcoin, and most people that are experts, and I'm not an expert in cryptocurrency, but from our perspective, is more a store of wealth, like gold. Gold is a store of wealth. Now, there's other coins, whether it's Bitcoin Cash and other things that are set to be able to replicate the dollar potentially. Bernanke was saying that they're thinking of essentially creating a cryptocurrency to replace the U.S. dollar eventually. But what does that really mean? It really just means the same bullshit that they're doing with the dollar, but it's going to be a digital asset.
Well, it's already a digital asset.
The dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially it is. Right?
It has to be.
Yeah.
Because guess what? When I spend $9, nobody goes into my account and removes 9 $1 bills.
Right.
It's all digital. It's all ones and zeros. It's already cryptocurrency.
It is. I think at some point in time, though, I think the biggest risk to Bitcoin or it's not the U.S. doing that. The biggest risk is they say, okay, all central banks around the world, right, unite and say, just like we were on the gold standard, maybe it is Bitcoin. We're all going to tie our currency to Bitcoin. If they do that, Bitcoin would go through the roof. Or what if they create their own cryptocurrency and say we're all going to tie to that?
Well, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and that's a huge risk to Bitcoin.
But I think that's what's going to happen because like the U.S. government, they'll make a U.S. coin.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, that's just like the dollar, except for now there's no more paper. It's all credit based. But technically, it already is.
Yeah.
Do you walk around with $1 million? No. Do you have $1 million?
In my bank.
Yeah, it's not in your bank, bro.
Right.
That's the point.
It's a digital number.
If
everyone went to go get their cash out of the bank, you'd have a run on the bank. That'd be a lot of trouble.
It'd be over. But isn't that digital then?
No, it absolutely is. Yeah. It absolutely is.
So it's digital. It's already digital. The fact that it's backed by a coin, well, what is a Bitcoin? You know what it is, by the way? I'll make you a digital coin expert. You know what it is?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
It's a reward for adding a block to the blockchain.
Right.
You know what the blockchain is? Literally an unfuckable ledger. It's a ledger you can't fuck.
Right.
And everything else you can fuck. It's an unfuckable ledger, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I bank on because you can't fuck with that entry. No corruption can fuck with that entry. That's valuable, dude. And when you solve one of these blocks, which allows more data on it, you get rewarded by a Bitcoin. And there's only so many Bitcoin. And a lot of them have been lost already. So literally, dude, there's a limited supply. And it's based on the blockchain, and I believe in the blockchain, which is why I believe in Bitcoin. I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere because of the blockchain.
It's definitely not going anywhere.
Banks are going to the blockchain.
The question is the value of it. The best upside catalyst for Bitcoin could potentially be that cryptocurrency that everyone ties to is Bitcoin. I mean, why create your own coin for nothing, especially when BNY Mellon's adopted it, especially when the largest global asset manager, BlackRock, in the world has adopted it. So I think that's the thing I think you have to have something in Bitcoin. At the end of the day, is it going to be the coin? Is this going to be, you hear people $2-3 million. I don't know about that, but I think if you don't have a part of your portfolio in crypto, and when you talk about crypto, 85-90% of the market is Bitcoin. And then there's Ethereum, and then there's 1,000 other at fractions of a percent in terms of the whole market. So I do think that could happen. The other thing about it is it's not a registered security yet by the SEC, so there's not an ETF like there is the GLD ETF. Once that happens and it becomes readily tradable on an exchange, you're going to have another wave of people pushing it up. So I think potentially you could see a huge upside move still on Bitcoin because there's a lot of people who still have not gotten into it. And all these Robinhood accounts, all these things, there's going to be more traders, I think, pushing that higher. Where that ultimately ends, I don't know. But some of the data that we've done, the analysis that we've done, it could easily hit 120, 130. And it's only at 50 right
Well, you've heard of Cash App, yeah?
What's that?
Cash App?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I open up my Cash App right now. Now, by the way, I didn't do this on purpose, but if I open up Cash App, somebody was wanting money and they couldn't, get a wire and all this stupid shit because they're 18 grand in there. In my Cash App. Like, that's mine. And guess what I put in there?
What was it?
A little bit of, like fractions of a Bitcoin when it was freaking $9,000.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And now it's $50,000. Yeah. So literally take that down. Like, I only transferred a little bit of money in there so I'd have enough to send this person. And, I didn't do it exact. And now there's 18,000. So that's my worry with Bitcoin. How can it keep sustaining, and where's all this money coming from?
How can the price keep being sustained?
Yeah, like I know a guy that bought it at, let's say, and I'm not shitting you, 75 cents, and he has shit tons of money now. Where's that money coming from? Well, someone needs to buy want to buy the Bitcoin, right? Mm-hmm. So that's supply and demand, right? So what I don't get about it is in other words, why does it go down and why does it go up?
Buyers and sellers. So the days that it goes down, you have more sellers than you do have buyers. That's the same reason stocks fluctuate on a daily basis. Same thing, art prices.
So when it hit 50 grand, a bunch of people said, "Shit, I got to get out of this."
Yeah, they rang the register.
Then it goes down.
And it goes down.
But someone like the government says, hey, we're going to start accepting this, or
then it goes up.
Then
more people come in.
Because my buddy said it'll be $1 million a coin within 5 years, and that was less than 2 years ago. So he's saying in 3 years, that'll be $1 million a coin.
Mm-hmm.
That would make trillionaires.
It would, yeah. No, it'd be crazy. So, I mean, but that's the thing. It's a fixed asset, right? It's just like fine art. And it's a Ponzi scheme. But so is the dollar. So is wine. So is fine art. All those things are only willing what someone's willing to pay. You know, when they put a piece of art at auction, you know, why do they do that? Is because why don't they just sell it, you know, off market? Well, because they know when they put it at auction, they get the biggest you-know-what there that are going to bid on it. They're going to bid against each other. And you have all these people that are in the room chasing one piece of art, and that's what drives it up. But at the end of the day, what can you do with that? You can't eat it. You can't live in it. That's what they believe the value. And it's the same thing with Bitcoin. The more money that flows into it, it's a fixed supply, right? So the price is just going to have to go higher and higher and higher. And so that's what I'm saying. You know, and one thing I'll tell you, this might not mean a lot. There's something called the Chartered Financial Analyst designation. It's the highest designation you can receive in finance. The society that puts that out, and this is harder to pass than the bar. It's like a 27% acceptance rate. The most esteemed society in finance is now actually creating model portfolios to show how 5, 6, 7% allocation of Bitcoin to a traditional asset allocation model, bonds, stocks, not only increases the return, but it lowers the risk. And so once you have institutions like that doing those things, it then becomes part of an asset allocation model. And asset allocation, all that means, guys, is when you look at endowments, pensions, large financial institutions, every year their board sits down and says, how are we going to allocate our capital? How much to stocks, international, domestic, how much to bonds, how much to alternative assets, real estate, and potentially now how much to cryptocurrency? They're not doing that right now. What happens when pensions start putting that in their investment policy statement where there's even a 3, 4, 5% allocation to cryptocurrency? It's going to skyrocket. Those institutional buyers still have not done that. They're way behind the game because they need 5, 10, 20 years worth of data before they feel confident enough because of litigious reasons to do that. So there's still a lot of catalysts that could push it a lot higher. That being said, it's electronically traded. So like you said, well, why does it go up and down? Well, because you can go and push it up and down, and there's not like the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ that puts in trading curbs that halts things so you don't see as much volatility. So it's really a total free market. But from that aspect, I still think, you know, from my perspective, where the big money is with large financial institutions, it hasn't moved there yet, but they're talking about it and it's coming.
Where's the money now?
You know, so gold is a part of a lot of asset allocation models. And so that's, you know, some of the work that we do and some of the analysis you see is, okay, what if only half of gold is replaced? So if people have a 5% allocation to gold in all these portfolios right now, what if they say, hey, let's do 2.5 gold and 2.5 in crypto? And that's where you start getting some of these numbers. Well, shit, you know, crypto could hit 500,000 or in terms of Bitcoin, 600,000.
Which would be the equivalent of spending $300 an ounce on gold?
Yeah.
Because what is it now, 2,000, 3,000?
Something like that, yeah. And so it's basically just taking all the gold, all the investable gold, and say, let's take a percentage of that allocation that's in endowment models now, move it into crypto. So there's a lot of catalysts. There's going to be a lot of catalysts in terms of large institutional money. It's already going in there, but in terms of pensions and endowments, there's going to be catalysts in terms of making it more available to the average investor, just like they did with gold back in the 90s with the GLD ETF. All those things are coming.
Yeah, but see, like, dude, you had to like study that shit, and you study it every day to know this stuff. The average person has no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
What can they do?
Well, they can buy. You know, here's the thing. Here's what made me really wake up to Bitcoin, because I was skeptical also about it, to be honest with you. Once I saw it in my PayPal account, I was like, shit, this is pretty legitimate, right? And I bought some. As soon as I saw that, I said, okay, let me go ahead and buy some. I bought some Ethereum. I bought some Bitcoin. It's easy. Most people have a PayPal account. You can go in there and buy it right in your PayPal account. So if you want to allocate, you know, one thing that we're telling people is, you know, don't go over 5% of your net worth. So if you got a $100,000 portfolio, don't go more than 5,000, and maybe start with 2. So 2 to 5% is what we're telling people. Because I do think they're going to give you more efficient portfolios. But remember, guys, when you allocate to that, give it a 5, 10-year time horizon. Because it's going to be volatile. It's going to go up and down, 20, 30, 40% swings. But when it's 2 to 5% of your portfolio, you're not worried about that, right? And if you're looking out longer term in terms of, younger people are asking me, where should I invest long term? I don't need this money for 10, 15 years. To not have some allocation to cryptocurrency does not make a lot of sense.